Throughout history, certain individuals have stepped beyond the bounds of the familiar world, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a relentless desire to discover what lay beyond the horizon. These explorers did not simply chart new lands. They redefined the very limits of human knowledge and connected distant civilizations. Today we'll take a closer look at some of the greatest explorers from the ancient world, men who ventured into uncharted territories, sparked cultural exchanges, and left legacies that shaped the course of history. From legendary conquerors to daring merchants and seafaring adventurers, the stories of these individuals show us how exploration was not just about discovery, but about forging connections and expanding the boundaries of human understanding. Let's begin with one of the most iconic figures in history, Alexander the Great, born in 356 BC in Macedonia. Alexander was not only a brilliant military strategist, but also a visionary whose explorations extended far beyond traditional conquest. By the time he was 30 years old, he had amassed one of the largest empires the world had ever seen, stretching from Greece to Egypt, Persia, and even into the heart of India. But Alexander's explorations weren't merely about expanding his empire, they were about uniting diverse cultures under a common vision. His desire to spread Greek culture and ideas across the vast lands he conquered led to the creation of cities like Alexandria in Egypt, which became centers of learning and cultural exchange. Alexander's empire became a melting pot, where Greek philosophy, art, and science mingled with the traditions of the East. His campaigns also opened up new trade routes, which allowed for the flow of ideas, goods, and innovations between the East and West, laying the groundwork for the Hellenistic era. Alexander's journey showed the ancient world the power of blending different cultures, forever changing the way we think about the interconnectedness of civilizations. Marco Polo is another explorer whose name is synonymous with the spirit of discovery. Born in Venice, Italy, around 1254, Marco Polo embarked on his journey to Asia at the age of 17, traveling along the Silk Road with his family and reaching the court of the Mongol Emperor Kublai Khan in China. What makes Polo's journey so remarkable is not just the distances he traveled, but the depth of cultural exchange he facilitated between Europe and the Far East. Polo's book, The Travels of Marco Polo, recounts his experiences in detail, introducing Europeans to the luxurious world of the East, its spices, silks, and the advanced technologies that existed in China long before they reached the West. While many details of his account were questioned by skeptics, there's no doubt that Polo's stories sparked a wave of interest in Asia. His adventures opened European eyes to a wealth of untapped resources and set the stage for the age of exploration that would come in the following centuries. In many ways, Marco Polo was a bridge between two worlds, one unknown to the other, and his writings inspired explorers like Christopher Columbus to seek new trade routes and territories. From the West, we turn to Ibn Battuta, a Moroccan scholar whose travels are arguably the most extensive of any individual in the medieval world. Born in 1304, Ibn Battuta set off at the age of 21 on what would become a 29-year journey across the Islamic world and beyond. Traveling over 75,000 miles, Ibn Battuta visited parts of North Africa, West Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, India, Southeast Asia, and even China. His goal was not just exploration, but to undertake the pilgrimage of Hajj, which led him to travel across vast stretches of the Muslim world. Along the way, he witnessed the great cities of the Islamic Golden Age, encountered diverse cultures, and documented the political and social landscapes he encountered. His writings, known as the Rila, provide a rare and invaluable glimpse into the medieval world, describing everything from legal systems to everyday life across different cultures. Ibn Battuta's explorations helped to cement the idea of a global Islamic world that was interconnected by trade, faith, and scholarship. His travels were a testament to the unity and diversity of the cultures that spanned from Morocco to China, and his detailed accounts continue to influence historians and scholars today. Pytheas of Massilia, a Greek merchant and navigator from the 4th century BC, may not be as well known as Alexander or Marco Polo, but his explorations were groundbreaking in their time. Pytheas is credited with being the first known Mediterranean sailor to venture into the North Sea, likely traveling to what is now the British Isles and possibly even reaching the Arctic Circle. While his account, On the Ocean, has been lost to history, ancient writers and geographers like Strabo and Pliny the Elder cited his work, describing his observations of the northern regions, where he noted phenomena like the midnight sun and the harsh, ice-filled seas. Pytheas's explorations challenged the ancient Greek understanding of the world and opened the door to future maritime expeditions. Though his claims were often met with skepticism, especially regarding the far northern lands he described, Pytheas was one of the first to push the boundaries of known geography, showing that the world extended far beyond the Mediterranean. Lastly, we look to Zheng He, the Chinese admiral who led an unprecedented series of naval expeditions during the Ming Dynasty in the early 15th century. Zheng He's voyages, which took place between 1405 and 1433, were some of the most impressive maritime expeditions in history. Commanding a fleet of enormous ships, some of which were over 400 feet long, Zheng He sailed to Southeast Asia, South Asia, the Arabian Peninsula, and even the east coast of Africa. His primary objective was not conquest, but rather diplomacy and trade. Zheng He's voyages helped to establish China as a dominant force in the Indian Ocean trade network, forging peaceful relations with many of the regions he visited. His expeditions demonstrated the vast capabilities of Chinese naval technology and the empire's desire to project power and influence across the seas. The Ming Dynasty's commitment to exploration under Zheng He was unmatched at the time. However, after his death and the subsequent shift in China's political climate, these voyages were abruptly discontinued, and much of Zheng He's legacy was forgotten. Nevertheless, his expeditions remain a remarkable chapter in the history of exploration, showing how diplomacy and maritime prowess can shape the global stage. These explorers, Alexander the Great, Marco Polo, Ibn Battuta, Pytheas of Massilia, and Zheng He, represent the unyielding spirit of exploration that has defined humanity for millennia. Their journeys were not only about discovering new lands, but also about connecting cultures, exchanging knowledge, and creating a lasting impact on the course of history. They bridged vast distances, fostered understanding between vastly different civilizations, and paved the way for future explorers. Their stories remind us that exploration is not just about discovering new places, it's about expanding our horizons, forging connections, and pushing the limits of what we know. As we look back on their journeys, we realize that their exploration was about more than just maps and territories. It was about understanding our world and the diverse people who share it. These ancient explorers showed us that the world is far larger, more intricate, and more connected than we often realize, and their legacies continue to inspire adventurers to this day. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the ancient world's greatest explorers. Their tales of discovery echo across time, reminding us that the pursuit of knowledge is a timeless endeavor. If you enjoyed this exploration into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories from Ancient Echoes. The past is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and we're just getting started.